This may be obvious to lots of people. I kind of laugh that it wasn't obvious to me. But by and large, in finance, a human being does not want the scientifically correct answer. What I mean by that is, if I tell you exactly how much you should be saving, this is exactly how much you should be spending, it's not that helpful because you have all these other things in your life you value that you can't just quantify in dollars. Like that coffee is really important to you to get each morning, or you want to have that nice couch because you're in your family room every day and it makes you feel a certain way. These qualitative aspects are really important, and we had to learn this the hard way a bunch of times at Digit.
Hello and welcome to Best Story Wins. I'm your host, Jason LANKOW, and I'm joined by my co host, Josh RITCHIE. And today we have a very special guest, our good friend, Ethan Bloch of Hiro. Hey, Ethan.
Hey.
Ethan, tell us a bit about Hiro and what you're building there.
Yeah, so I've been working on a product that we call Hiro for about a year, and we are building what we call today your personal CFO. Okay, what's a CFO? CFO is this term that really comes from business. A CFO is your chief financial officer of a company or organization, managing the money, managing the cash flow, projections, figuring out what you should do financially. And we think because of the breakthroughs in large language models, we could be at a place where every individual could have their own personal CFO. And so this is what we've been exploring to see if it's possible really for the last year or so. And this is a long-term sort of vision going back to a previous company I'd started called Digit back in 2014, 13. The dream was to build a financial AI then. We never got there. We built a great product that helped millions of people save billions of dollars, but it never became a financial AI. And then large language models came out. And so for whatever reason, this is part of why I'm on this planet to work on this type of problem.
That's really cool. So what else besides Digit have you done? What's your backstory?
Yeah, it's sorry, I just realized I didn't order my lunch. This will be very fast. This will be very fast because of the modern technologies of DoorDash. And I can just order what I had yesterday. It should be even easier. I should be able to be like, hey, order what I had yesterday. And it orders it, which maybe will happen soon enough. So, my story it has a couple of through lines that have sort of gone like this, really, since I was 6. When I was 6, I fell in love with the computer. It was just the best thing. Home life was tough. The computer was an outlet to escape. It was incredible. By the time I was in 5th grade, not only did I have a computer, I had a computer with the original version of Quicken on it. And I was like playing with Quicken, like a personal bookkeeping software way back, one of Intuit's first products. And so there was already a financial aspect to it. And, these sort of mutual loves of technology and finance just happen to be these things I am super passionate about. And I would consistently start different businesses, and we don't necessarily need to get into them because it's long and storied. But I was always starting these projects, mostly internet businesses and projects. I ended up going to school for finance at the University of Florida. And while I was at school, I started video podcasting, which was kind of a new thing. I mean, very new. This is like 2005. And one of those podcasts got me out to San Francisco when I graduated, and the whole world was sort of melting in 2008. From the podcast, I got a job at a fintech called Cake Financial. And from that point, I thought, okay, I've sort of figured some of this out. I have my first job. I'm working at a startup. It's kind of the dream. But then everyone got laid off at the startup. And it's like, okay, now I have to pay the bills. And so that led to my first sort of venture-backed startup called Flowtown. This is where we all met. We built software for small businesses, and that built a very small business. We ended up selling that business in 2011. And then at this point in life, I'd sort of made enough money where I had some time to think about what I wanted to do next, but not too much. Like I still very much had to work. And I was in this really dark place, which is weird. I thought making money was like the reason to live for a lot of my life. And comes down from my own family and some beliefs we had. And then I made a bunch of money and I was very empty inside. And so I was like, what the fuck am I going to do the rest of my life? And it was in that space I just reconnected with, again, this love for technology and this love for finance. And again, this is around 2012. And it was in that space I got to this place saying, how can I help people financially? And the thing then was, let's help people save. And that was what eventually led to Digit. And, Digit was a 10-year journey. We helped millions and millions of Americans save over $9 billion with the product. We ended up selling that business in 2021 for about $240 million. And then I got that set up and I left the acquire Opportune and thought, okay, venture-backed companies are brutal. I'm not going to do that again. But it turned out that I'm supposed to do that again because LLMs came out and what we've been dreaming to do for so long could now be possible. So again, that is a spiel going through, and we can dive back into any of it, but that's sort of some of the arc that led me to this very place right now.
That's really cool. It's wild to hear you talking about playing with Quicken at 6. That's not something that
Yeah, I think I was like 9 or 10 by that point. But yeah, it's,
Were you logging actual expenses?
I was like probably any young kid then on the computer. It was just all about exploring, clicking every button. Like, what does it do? How do I break it? How does this work? And so I had, ledger entries, and my buddy Matt Flynn was over one day, and I was like, we were reading a Beverly Cleary book in school. This is that time, and I was like, "Hey, Matt, we're gonna sue Beverly Cleary." And he's like, "What?" And I was like, "Check this out." And I brought up like a check register and typed Beverly Cleary's name and $50,000. It doesn't even make sense. But it's like, you're in fifth grade and you're just like, look at, he's like, "You're suing Beverly Cleary. This is wild." And I was like, "Send." And you see the check register. And he's like, "Whoa." So stuff like that.
Magic trick.
it's cool. It sounds like what you're working on at Hero represents what you wanted to work on at Digit, but maybe the tech wasn't there yet. Does that resonate?
It's exactly right. It's exactly right.
So how is, you built a really great brand with Digit. Um, I'm sure there were ups and downs with that company, like there is with any company, but like, how has your thinking about brand building evolved from that experience to now launching a new company?
Brand is this weird thing. And we modern sort of people in business or in design or, pick the field, we like talk a lot about brand. And I feel that a lot of it's just confused, at least for me. Like the brand ultimately starts with the product. And you could have different beliefs on that and what type of business are you, and maybe the product matters less, maybe the marketing matters more. But I'm of the school that like if you're especially if you're selling a product, whether it's software or hardware or physical thing to a customer, it starts with the product. How good is the product? How good does it solve the problem the customer intends to solve when they buy the product? How does the product feel when you use it? Uh, and again, that is like everything to me then comes from that. And so at Digit, we were very focused on, right? Like, we're going to help people save money. A lot of people would be like, okay, great. Let's build this product. Let's have all this UI. Let's have them set settings. And it's like, no, 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 no. Like, people aren't doing this today for a reason. It's too much work. And so with Digit, you would sign up, you would connect your checking account, and you would go back to living your life. And Digit would study your checking account, find money it could save, move it out of your account for you. It's going to a place that's safe. It's FDIC insured. Now it's in your Digit account. And it would text you, here's how much you saved this week. We didn't even have an app when the product launched. It would literally text message you, which today is like, oh yeah, chat is the thing. We were doing chat in 2011, 12. Chat interface with, you could log in on the web and see your balance. And so from that, we came this brand of being sort of in the background, sort of very light. And then there's things we would do to tweak the way it would talk to you to make it more positive. And then out of that comes a brand. Something, brand is the brand. Brand is the way the customer thinks about your company when they hear your name. What does that make them think? And so that is, and again, that's Digit, and that's how the Digit brand got built. Now we would just keep trying to enhance that and stay focused on what are we really doing for the customer, and how does that get communicated to them in marketing material and stuff like that.
I love that perspective. I remember being in that alpha testing for Digit when you're, it's like, what are you doing next after Flowtown? And
I was like, here, check this out. Check this crazy shit out. And you were so kind. You were on it. You would give us great feedback. It was very sweet of you.
I did it all for this moment where you could acknowledge me for being critical to your success.
No to G, long game.
Yeah, I just remember it's really interesting hearing you share this perspective as, more. I know you're, involved in all of it, but you're not bringing a marketing centric view to brand, right? You're thinking more from the product experience as a key aspect of that brand.
And people create these like false walls of like, product and marketing because it's how you need to structure an organization. But what I was saying before is it starts with the product because without the product solving the problem, you have no business. And then when you sell a product, how do you talk to the customer about it? This is marketing, right? But this is literally just like if you were, an independent, artisan with some shop in 1910 in New York City and someone comes in, the product would be amazing. You would talk about the product. You're doing the marketing. It's all, and we like break it all apart. And so to me, marketing is it's like, how do you explain the product in a way the customer understands?
Yeah, your explanation to it in terms of like how you're building the brand through developing a great product, it reminds me of a Naval quote. I'm just paraphrasing. It's like you do sales because your marketing sucks, and you do marketing because your product sucks. I don't know if you've come across that, but that's what you made me think of.
With all these things, there's the counter, but I think generally that is what many companies will paper over, and that's correct. Then there are products where you're basically a commodity, a checking account, or pick something else, a pair of jeans. There are parts of maybe clothing that can be very specific and actually better in terms of quality, but in large part, all you have is this concept of the brand, and I don't know. I think that's fine. This is not my specialty of thinking out how to create this illusion of value when the product is fundamentally just a commodity.
With that in mind, are there some specific events or lessons from your Digit journey that are really shaping and influencing how you're thinking about building product this time around?
As all of us, as we all get older, we have all this experience to draw on, which in some ways is quite helpful, and other ways cannot be helpful. And so it's figuring out, what's helpful and what's not. And that's pretty zoomed out. For the one really big thing, it's not exactly product, but it does influence the product that I've carried forward is getting the team right. At Digit, I was pretty much sole founder, at least for certain phases of the business. I ended up having really helpful, executive team members early on, but I was still very much a sole founder. Certainly in the end, we had an incredible executive team, but we did not have the right people in the right seats, for the first several years of building Digit, and that really hurt us. And it took me a long time to realize that and to see that. And I don't ever want to be in an organization like that again. And I have the luxury of, it's easier when at least your financial security for me isn't completely wrapped up in the startup being successful. Digit, it was totally wrapped up. And so you just keep going, you keep going. There is no eject, or like get rid of the whole team. It was just too risky. So that has been carried forward into Hiro. We are 9 people today, and each person you like think about the person, you think about what they do on the team, and it is overwhelmingly clear they blow your mind. There's no like, yeah, some of the time, oh, I don't this thing. No, like overwhelmingly clear. That's different. That's a luxury, and that makes it different, and then a difference in the product because at Hiro, every single one of us except one, and the one, every single one of us are makers. We have one person who can do some making, but he's running everything else. And so that makes a big difference because, it's just engineers and designers making. Like and if you're a product company, it's like, what else is there? I mean, you have to sell it and service it and stuff. But in the beginning, Everything else is a distraction. It's not engineering and design.
That's good. Are you thinking, I know you said you're gonna grow the team over time, but, um, the theme right now in startups is lean and mean. Is your vision to kinda keep the team as lean as possible?
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, we don't. I've never aspired to have a large to work in a large organization or have a large team. This was not the case at Digit. This is not the case at Hero. Um, I got some of this wrong at Digit. We at times starved the team actually too much, and it was too lean. Like I remember one day I'm sitting in my office and we just raised, I don't know, $20 million or something. We were 11 people at that point in time. And the CEO of Plaid, a big fintech company, Zach's in my office, and we're talking because we were early customers. He like, looks around and he's like, "When are you gonna hire some more people?" And I'm like, "No, no, we don't need more people. We're good." And he's like, "I don't know, man. Like, if you really think you hit on an opportunity, you definitely need a few more." I'm like, "No, no, Zach, we're good." He was totally right. He was totally right. I couldn't see it. Again, it's a balance. You don't want to hire too many people too fast, but you don't want to starve the organization either. And so it's just taking, it's trying to be as clear eyed as possible about what you're trying to do. Can you achieve it with this team? If you need to go a little bit faster, is actually adding someone help because sometimes it doesn't. And again, in this world where we're getting a significant productivity boost through the use of LLMs in our day jobs, maybe that helps in some way as well delay, you know, hiring more people or changes the number of people we ultimately need to hire.
Yeah. So for people our age and younger, fintech products are pretty normal now. We're used to using them. But generally speaking, financial products require earning people's trust. How are you guys approaching that at Hero?
I mean, it starts with the first interaction. And, there's obviously what are we doing in engineering the product and specifically the design of the security of the product for us to be able to sleep at night feeling like we've done everything we can. And so that happens without question. Um, we're fortunate to build from a blank sheet of paper and design every system in the best way possible using the most modern approach to security possible. So that's quite a benefit, I would say. People are like, oh, how is it? Is it more secure than a bank? And you could argue differences, but definitely starting from a blank slate, blank page, excuse me, um, really does give you an advantage, I think, in designing your security architecture and system. So there's that part. We will do all of that to the absolute best ability. And then it's when the customer has these interactions with Hero, how are we communicating the things we do to keep their data safe, to not sell their data? And how solid does the product feel? It's just actually like it's sort of this, you click through a couple screens, you're inside, you get interaction, and that helps build trust or erode trust. When the customer tries to get something done, does it just work? And is it effortless? And is it happening, the way they expect? Are we managing their expectations properly and what Hero is doing for them because you're asking questions about your financial life or you're trying to parse data about your financial life. And so all these things add up. And over time, you start to charge this trust battery with the user. And then you leverage that to get another user. This is quite important in financial services that they spread because people love the product. You can spread it in other ways. And we don't have, you can certainly spread it through a network effect, but just loving the product is really important for a financial service because you will trust your friend or friends, especially if to tell you about it, way more than you're going to trust some Instagram ad. And so that is kind of all taken into account in the way that the product is built and how we think about building trust.
That's cool. So who's the customer?
So today we're focused on, I would say people between the ages of 30 and 50. So pretty wide. And that's not perfect. There are people in their 50s that would be great Hero customers, and there's people in their 20s that would be great Hero customers. Um, but the important aspect is we're focused on people that um, make more money than they spend. It's not a huge challenge for them to figure out how to make ends meet. They're not overly stressed by the amount of debt that they have and how they're going to pay it down. One day we will help everyone, but today we're focused on this segment that kind of makes enough. And the reality for them is their financial life's really complicated. They have accounts, multiple bank accounts, multiple credit cards, multiple investment accounts, multiple retirement accounts. They probably have children or thinking about starting a family. They may own a home. They may be thinking about buying a home. They may have a student loan. It's not, incredibly stressful, but they're still wondering, how fast should I pay it down? And they're trying to make sense of this whole world just so they can know, am I on track for this future state I want to live in, or am I not? And are there things I should be doing that are just no brainer that I'm going to make more money or save more money? And if so, let me help. Let me do them quickly. Let me know what they are, and then I need to go back to living my life because it's very busy. I got lots of stuff going on, and so that's kind of the customer profile we're focused on right now.
For those customers, how much does Hero solve a problem better than other options in the market, versus how much does it address a challenge that maybe people haven't even acknowledged exists yet?
I think the thing about personal finance is the um, problems someone could have or the things someone wants to do with their financial life is so broad and long tail. And it also gets even more sort of long tail due to your unique financial situation. So, as I say, every person's financial life really is a unique snowflake. And today, the traditional solutions will try to fit you in a box and specialize. And so, if you want to do budgeting, there's some great budgeting tools, but it is a budgeting tool. You want to track your net worth, there's some great net worth tools, but it's mostly a net worth tool. Sometimes they hop over into budgeting. If you want to figure out if you're maximizing your credit card rewards, there's 10 long tail apps, multiple websites to figure that out. And then you're probably doing spreadsheets. If you're trying to shop for a new piece of insurance, like for car insurance, maybe you're calling your broker, maybe you're going to a marketplace, another solution. And so a long-winded way of saying, we think because of LLMs, we can bring all those things under one product. And it won't look super complicated to the person. And it won't look super complicated because this interface is like, hey, this is your personal CFO. What do you want to do? Okay, here's how you do it. Or, hey, here's something we think you could benefit from doing. Okay, here's how you do it. And so to finally answer your question, there's some things Hero today does that no product in the market can do, but it's these long tail personalized questions. And there's loads of things Hero doesn't do today or doesn't do well that existing products in the market do quite well. And so we're trying to find this balance of, again, the things that no one else does, but then these things that, hey, if you connect all these accounts, you kind of expect to have spend tracking. Because I'm like, connect to my bank account. Show me a fucking graph. Like, what are you doing? And so it's finding that balance of features right now is sort of the state of where we are.
So when you as you've built this and, observing some of even your own changes in how you relate to finances over time, what's a surprising insight or observation you've made about financial behavior that, you've carried in from past experience into this new venture?
Yeah. This may be obvious to lots of people. And I kind of laugh that it wasn't obvious to me. But by and large, in finance, a human being does not want the scientifically correct answer. What I mean by that is if I tell you exactly how much you should be saving, so this is exactly how much you should be spending, it's not that helpful because you have all these other things in your life you value that you can't just quantify in dollars. Like that coffee is really important to you to get each morning, or you want to have that nice couch because you're in your family room every day and it makes you feel a certain way. Um, these qualitative aspects are really important. And we had to learn this the hard way a bunch of times at Digit. And so we've tried to carry this in to Hero as well. And again, it's what makes LLMs really freaking good is what do you care about? Okay, I understand you a little bit better now. When you ask me for how much you should spend on something, or if you could afford this, I'm going to take these preferences into account in the answer I give you. This wasn't possible a few years ago. And so that's, I think, yeah, it's because we're human. It's obvious, right? But sometimes we forget it.
What else changed about the fintech landscape, since you founded and, exited Digit? Besides LLMs, is there anything else that, like, really has shifted in that market that made you say, "Hey, there's a lot of opportunity here. I wanna do this again?"
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that anything shifted. Financial services is so massive of an industry in the US and globally. I don't remember the figures off the top of my head, but yeah, it's trillions of dollars of revenue in these businesses. And fintech is very small still. And it just seems to reason that over time, more and more of these dollars will be captured by fintechs. And fintech, that thing, that might evolve, right? Maybe Chase one day is mostly a fintech because they've had to evolve their products and the way they build them and the way their products work and the way they sell them. Square is obviously a fintech, but they're so big now, and Cash App. But then you have sort of the upstarts like a Hero. And so it's very obvious to me over time, more and more dollars will be captured by fintechs. And it hasn't. It's quite small. In 2010, I thought this would happen faster. And there's been some great companies, especially if you look at the whole globe, right? Like Nubank down in Brazil, I think is the second largest financial institution now in the world behind Alibaba, I believe. In the US, we have Robinhood. That's been a big success. We have Chime, which has been a big success. And there's others, but there haven't been nearly as many or as big. Obviously, Cash App is tremendous, as I would expect. And so I just feel like it's still coming. And so I do think in some ways, consumer finance and fintech has made lots of promises over the last 15 years. Most of it's not delivered on, in my opinion. And I think LLMs could help start to actually deliver some of that. And when I talk about crypto and stable coins and what's happening there, I think that's a whole nother facet that's been um, coming. And it's really starting to see the real world use cases people have been talking about for a long time.
Yeah, do you think you're ever gonna do a B2B version of this product, or does it just not make sense?
I don't know. I won't say never. It's possible. It's very possible. I I'm not personally good at B2B. So that limits it somewhat, right? There's like founder market fit, but maybe someone internally at Hero could be better at it and want to do it and figure it out. It's typically very hard for a product to be both incredible at consumer and incredible at business. Sometimes you get companies like an Apple that do a reasonably good job. Their consumer products are incredible, and obviously their business products are good, especially in the pro sort of video and audio field. Um, or Microsoft in some ways, but I'd argue that consumer products are not very good. Um, it's hard to do both. Maybe we will.
So when you think about, the fintech landscape and these other brands, maybe including some of those success stories that you referenced, but some that you've seen not do things as well. Where do you think they get it wrong in terms of communicating their value to users?
I don't know if they get it wrong in communicating the value. Finance is just hard. This is a hard business, heavily regulated, and there's a real cost of doing business. It's not just pure software where every new user is like basically free. If you build some type of financial product, typically every new user has a very real cost. And there is only so many ways to move money through the financial system, to take payments in the financial system, to underwrite loans in the financial system, to custody assets in the financial system. And those are real. Like my co-founder at Hero, Roosh, he'll call it the gravity of finance. Like no matter how aspirational the fintech is, you're always going to smash into the gravity of finance because it's hard. It's super hard. And so coming and trying to figure out how to really build a durable competitive advantage that provides a service to the customer that's kind of unmatched in the market and scale it to millions of people is so brutal. Like, I wouldn't recommend anyone do it. I don't even know why I do it. It's just, I don't do it for the like, oh, we're going to be successful. I mean, that's part of it. I do it 'cause, oh, this is fun to me. These puzzles are fun.
What are some examples of, you know, those blockers to the communication? Like when it comes to just communicating, a promise, for example. I know obviously like legal and compliance are big things as well.
The biggest challenge is attention. People have no fucking attention in 2025. Like, if you're trying to communicate some value prop to a customer, you have 3 words, maybe. They're gonna remember 3 words. One of them is gonna be your brand name, hopefully. So it's like, you know, it's like, that's such a challenge. We're perpetually distracted, we're perpetually scrolling, we need sound bites, we need chunks, we need little bits, and you need to break through that. And I think that for any product, and especially a financial product, people are like, "Ugh, what's a financial product? Like, really? I rather buy this sweater or this mug. It's beautiful. That's in my feed right now. Wow, look at this mug. This mug's so great. Buy." And, oh, I like, manage your money better. I don't want to think about my money. So I don't know. I think it's an attention challenge more than any other aspect.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Like just thinking about, what was it that led Robinhood to be successful, you know?
You ready? Free trading.
Yeah. There you go.
Pick another one that's successful.
Cash App.
Yeah, that one's complex. The network effect in that's very real. And so talking to early Cash App team members like Brian Grasdonia, they see Venmo. Venmo's very successful, but they see a part of the market that's still not using peer-to-peer payments. They figure out how to get the product in the hands of that market, and then they watch that exponential curve over time. Cash App grows, because someone wants to pay you, and they're like, "Are you on Cash App?" Very different than a Robinhood, which is like, Robinhood's like, "Yo, look at my account. What is that? Free trading." Robinhood. Credit Karma, free credit score. Chime, get paid 2 days early. It's a little bit more than 3 words, but it's close. I think you can look at this pattern for a lot of these consumer products that break through.
Are there any other companies that you really admire, even outside of the fintech space, that you draw inspiration from?
I mean, I draw inspiration from everywhere, all companies, the good and the bad. Um, yeah, it's so hard to pick one. It's so hard to pick one because it's really not a one. It's like on my desk right now is this book, right? So many products. Like, just flip through this once a week, and you're gonna be, there you go, in a way, better spot. Physical product design in that case, but it just comes from everywhere. It comes from everywhere, and I guess there are people I get inspired by. Maybe that's kind of what you were asking. And today, people are like, "Oh, damn, that's really well done. I want to do it as well as them and maybe push a little bit." And so Linear, to me, we use Linear all the time. It's a product that development teams and companies use to build software. It's a ticket tracking tool, more or less, but it's brilliantly done. It's the best version that's existed. I've been using these tools for 15, 20 years. Oh, it's so great. They just really have built something great. And so when I think about our product, it's very different. I'm like, all right, if Linear can do this, okay, what we need to get at least to that bar and keep pushing it. And so I don't know, it's like healthy competition in some way. I think about it, even though we're not competitive with them.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. You just find these creative sparks everywhere.
Everywhere. They're everywhere. It's like Rick Rubin says, you just gotta like tune in, man. They're everywhere.
Even yeah, you were talking earlier about ordering lunch. You're like, I just should be able to say, order what I had yesterday.
Yeah. That seems
That's
obvious
pretty
though,
close.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there. DoorDash might not like that necessarily because they want you to come into the app and upsell you and all the other bullshit that they need to do to hit their numbers.
So, what are your goals right now at this stage of the company? How do you think about just like what you're aspiring, or what time horizon do you think in measuring and assessing, like, okay,
Yeah,
we're on a good track?
short-term goal is to get Hiro to product market fit. So we're pre-product market fit still. And so that is the short-term goal. And so I think we're getting closer and we're in that phase really where we're iterating towards it. We're onboarding new users all the time and we're testing and we're improving features and adding features and removing features. Um, so let's get the product market fit. Do it as fast as we can, but be honest about where we are and what we need to do to continue to get to where we want to go. That's the short-term goal. And that's what we're focused on. And the long-term goal is let's try and build $1 trillion financial AI. Because what else are we doing? That sounds fun. It sounds really hard. We're nowhere close. Long-term goal and then the short-term one. And then we'll see how to bridge.
On the note of, I love how you were talking earlier, when you're connecting that product experience and people recommending something to their friends as like a key ingredient of brand. And, it speaks to trust, right? And maybe it is also part of product market fit, maybe not the most common word in product market fit definitions, but yeah.
Your customer loves the product so much, they're spreading it. There may be no better indication of product market fit. Now, so the question of how big the market and how strong is the product market fit, but that's a very, very obvious positive signal in that direction, a very strong signal.
Beyond that, is there any other way that you can either sense or measure or survey to know if you've actually, like, what indicates to you that you've earned people's trust?
Earn people's trust or have achieved product market fit? Because you could do the latter without the former.
Sure. Well, I think specifically on the note of trust, like people are, I guess obviously it could be like connecting their accounts indicates some level of trust, right? But do you feel like, yeah, do you think about that as a metric or measurement that matters, or is it more just something you feel as part of something else you're measuring?
For us, because we build a financial product, usage is very tightly coupled with trust. There's lots of other products where that's not the case. This is why I was saying, hey, you could have product market fit, but not necessarily have customers trust. Um, but in our case, you can't, they're so tightly coupled. Like someone's not going to keep using Hero and to your point, connecting more financial accounts if they don't trust us. And so for us, it's easy to see if someone trusts us based on the usage and the retention of a user. And if a user is not retaining, then we can talk to users. And if they're saying, hey, I'm just not sure I trust this or I don't feel great about this, then we'll know, okay, one of the reasons people aren't retaining is we haven't built enough trust for them with them. And then there could be ways to increase that trust by getting at really the root reasons of why, hey, is this data leaking to the LLM and are you training on it? Okay, no. So we don't do that and we can make that more clear, right? Further up the funnel that we don't do that and things like that.
Since you started to go there, yeah, what is your favorite definition of product market fit, or how do you know when you really have it?
I mean, this is one of those things. This is like, it's an art and a science. It's both. And it's not a thing that you're going to look at as metric and be like, we have it. Celebration. It's sort of like taking all the data, use your own senses and brain to look at it and look what's happening. And then you'll come to some sense of how strong the product market fit is. Some of the qualitative measures that I've used over my career to measure this, there's one in particular that a guy named Sean Ellis, I believe he really started making it known 20 years ago. And it's just this survey. And one of the survey questions is, how disappointed would you be if you can no longer use the product? And you send that survey to people who've you think have gotten to the point of value in your product. And you want to see that be at least 40% of people or higher. And it's cool because if it's the people who would say they're somewhat disappointed, you ask them another question, right? What can we do to make the product more valuable? And sometimes you get some good insights out of that. So it's like one very basic quantitative metric. Another one is just, again, depending on what type of product you're building, but repeat usage and retention. So people coming back. How many times a week are people coming back? How many times a month are people coming back? That gives you some indication, right, of value. If someone keeps coming back, they're getting value from it. And then there's this, I want to tell my friend, how do I get my friend on? Which you'll see people email in or write about a product. That's another indicator I would say that I've taken into account in assessing product market fit.
So obviously you've mentioned AI is a big part of the product. Do you expect it to play a big role in your brand marketing as well?
Maybe in like it's um certainly in rapidly sketching ideas for creative direction. It already is fun to do that. You have some idea of how you might explain something instead of just sketching it out or having a designer do something more hi-fi. You can just like rapidly create a creative all of a sudden that looks pretty good. And oh, it doesn't work, throw it out. Oh, here's a billboard, or imagine this in a little ad. And so that feels obvious. Now, do we produce creative that's fully generative? No. Do we produce creative that is then slightly edited by a designer and then goes live? Maybe, quite likely. And maybe it gets so good. I doubt this for a while, but so good that like single shot, you just have the thing and you ship it. I don't know. But I think, yeah. And this is both in art, but also in copy. It's 10 other ways to describe this thing. It's just such a great partner in thinking through that stuff.
I guess looking at the future a bit, if curious if you have a vision for um like as Hero grows and is successful, how the company will change people's relationship with money. Is there something that you've thought on or articulated to that point?
It's, in back to the snowflake point, there may be a few main ways, but each person does have a unique way they relate to money, and that way they relate to their money actually changes through their life. And so I don't know that Hero will change the person's relationship with money. I mean, the reality is if you live in a industrialized country, certainly in America, but in other ones as well, money is the central organizing factor of life, whether you accept that or not. And that just instantly creates this important relationship, whether you want it or not, from the day you're born to the day you die, and people will interact with that differently and such. And I don't think we'll change that per se. Maybe we make it easier. I think we certainly make it easier. We make it less stressful. We make it less complicated. Does it ultimately change the relationship with money? I'm not sure. I can't really tell. Um, my hope is we definitely make it more positive, like whatever your valence is, it's more positive with Hero in your life because you feel like it's more wrangled and more under control. And you're doing all the things you could be doing and should be doing to maximize your money and get the most from it.
It's been awesome seeing your successes over the years. Feel like you're someone I've always enjoyed rooting for. And let's say we're 3 years from now, or maybe it's a bit longer if your goal is to get to $1 trillion financial AI, but 4 years we'll call it. Uh, but we're toasting to Hero's success in the future, one way or another. Uh, what do you think will have taken place if we're just standing there, super proud of you and happy for you?
I don't know. It's so hard for me to answer due to my own self-critic. I don't like the idea of toasting me personally. Um, I think something we have wrong in our culture is when someone achieves something great, we start to really love the person. I think it's a huge mistake. Love their output, love their work, love all those championships Jordan won. Don't love Jordan. He's just a human. He's just like you and me. I think this is important. So if Hero is successful, don't toast me. What do we do for people? What was the output? What was the outcome? That we would celebrate. And I think if we're celebrating that, we just have helped make this world where finance is just not, it's not something people are like, oh, I got to get that life insurance policy. I got to make sure there's enough in my checking account. I got to pay his credit card bill on time. Oh, what's up with I don't even think about my retirement. I don't even fucking think about it. Pete, that's not happening anymore. It's just like, Hero's got it. Well, what's on my retirement? What's on my retirement? Okay, Hero's got it. Do this for me. Do that for me. That's the sort of future we've brought in or ushered in. And then we can celebrate that.
Ethan, always a pleasure. Where can people learn more about you and Hero?
You can find Hero at herofinance.com.
That's HIRO.
Correct. Yeah, thank you. Yep. HIRO finance.com. You can find me at ethanbloch.com or on X, eBloch.
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 Thanks, Ethan. This is great.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me on. It's so great to reconnect and chat with both of you.
You too. Great to see you.